I look at training for triathlon as similarly to doing business, where every day is an opportunity. You have to be prepared for each day. And I train for about 2 to 2.5 hours on average per day. Wake up call is 4 a.m. I approach the day like the first few hours, I'm on a mission to accomplish what I set out to do that day and keep the company on its proper trajectory. And then you have your big milestones. And then sort of the company in business, you have, big moments and things you're preparing for. Just like in sports, you have an event or a race that you're preparing for along the way. But it's really those practice sessions or that daily training or that daily work that makes those, big moments or races possible.
Imagine dedicating your life to restoring one of the most precious senses we have, vision. Our guest today has not only done that, but has navigated the complexities of international healthcare markets and regulatory frameworks to bring innovative systems and innovative vision products to those in need. He combines the discipline of a competitive Ironman triathlete, the compassion of a caregiver, and the experience of a seasoned leader. Today, we delve into the mind of Dr. Thomas Ruggia, President and CEO of Samsara Vision, to uncover the driving forces behind his remarkable journey and leadership. Welcome to the Care to Lead podcast, where we explore the stories and insights of leaders making a profound impact. I'm Cynthia Corsetti, your host, and today we're going to have an extraordinary conversation lined up for you, so don't go anywhere. Welcome, Dr. Ruggia.
Not a doctor, by the way, but I play one on TV.
Oh, I have doctor. I'm just giving you credit because you're in ophthalmology. I assume doctor, but you are in the other end of the business, not in the room. You're in the technology business. So why don't we start there and share us with exactly what you do?
Sure. Yeah. I've been in this business for 24 years. I was some of the bigger companies in the industry and my own startup here at Samsara Vision. I've spent those 24 years in more than 30 countries around the world doing business, talking to patients and surgeons about their vision and working on such diseases as cataracts and glaucoma and retina surgery and all of the in between. My passion does lie in people's vision. Like you said, I'm the resident family member that's in charge of everybody's eyesight as well. I get phone calls and everything from the family too. So as a business leader, I spend all of my time trying to move the needle and change the trajectory for patients with late stage age-related macular degeneration. And I do so at the company Samsara Vision, where we have a miniature telescope that's implanted in the eye during cataract surgery and brings 3 to 4 lines of vision back to patients who have been blinded by AMD.
That's pretty impressive. You talked in your article about how the discipline that you honed through your experience as a competitive Ironman triathlete, it's been crucial to your success. Can you share a specific instance where this discipline really impacted your leadership?
Yeah, I think every day it's not so much the big things, but it's the little things. I look at training for triathlon as similarly to training to doing business, where every day is an opportunity. You have to be prepared for each day. And my training, I train for about 2 to 2.5 hours on average per day. And that's early in the morning. So wake up call is 4 a.m. And then by the time I'm finished working out between 7:30 and 8 o'clock, and I'm in the office as quickly as I can. I approach the day like the first few hours, I'm on a mission to accomplish what I set out to do that day and keep the company on its proper trajectory. And then you have your big milestones. And then sort of the company in business, you have, big moments and things you're preparing for. Just like in sports, you have an event or a race that you're preparing for along the way. But it's really those practice sessions or that daily training or that daily work that makes those, big moments or races possible. So I think there's a lot of parallels to be gleaned from being a lifelong athlete and being a business leader.
That's interesting. And so you're obviously a morning routine person because you have a pretty steadfast morning routine. Tell me about your routine when you walk into the office. Do you have as strict of a morning routine when you first start your workday and transition from athlete to businessman? What is your routine?
Yeah, that's really an interesting question. So, usually my wake up call is, like I said, 4, and I get up. But our business mission here at Samsara Vision is to meet the patients and surgeons where they live. So the day never ends. We have business moving in Asia Pacific and in Europe. So my wake up call, first thing I'm doing is work. So for an hour while I'm waking up, I'm checking the nighttime emails, working on with my European team on cases that are ongoing or regulatory movement that we want or something big. And then after that first hour, after I'm woken up enough to go and train, usually work is on my mind during that training session. And it allows me that when I enter the office, I'm prepared. So, I think if you're not if you're not a morning person, if you're not an athlete that works out in the morning, you sort of wake up and come to the office. And then for the first few hours, you figure out what your approach to the day is going to be. I arrive at, whenever I step foot in the office with a plan, with a million questions to ask people and things I want to accomplish for that day. And I get things done I'm most productive between 8 and 2. And then usually between 2 and 5, I'm making phone calls, wrapping the day up and things like that. I'm an early to bed person, so I'm not working till midnight. I'm really 5 o'clock as often as I can shut down. I'm trying to shut down at 5 for family time and an early bedtime. That's my normal day. But I think the big difference for me is that time in the morning where I'm training. The training is monotonous for endurance athletes. So it provides me a lot of thinking time to put things in order in my head so that when I enter the office, I have a plan and can get moving. What I've learned over the years, though, is not everyone's on my schedule. And that doesn't make anyone a bad person or wrong. So I have to be cautious as to what my energy level is with my team when I walk in. If I'm working with Europe, it's fine. They're on the same sort of circadian clock as I am. But if I'm working with somebody in California, where it might be 7 a.m, I have to be a little cautious as to how I show up.
I can totally relate because I too am a super early morning person with my morning wake up workout. And if I don't work out before I start my day, it's a whole different mindset. It's very different. And I also have team members in San Francisco, and I have team members in Cleveland or in Ohio. So you do. And I'm like texting or messaging. I'm like, I got to remember, like, they're not there. And if they are there, they're just waking up. So
that's right.
I totally can relate to that. But I think that understanding from a leadership standpoint, I always try to get leaders to really understand in their most productive times. And it sounds like you've done that just naturally without thinking about it. But and I'm exactly the same way. I am super productive in the early mornings. And then there's like a lull in the middle of the afternoon where I'm not going to want to be as focused or doing something that is as focused as something that I can bang out in the morning. And when we know our rhythm like that, it makes for more productivity in less hours. Would you agree?
Yeah. Oh, for sure. Yeah. I think there's a famous book, The 4-Hour Workweek, which is a misunderstood book. If you get it, and read it. He's not saying that the work week should be 4 hours, but what he's saying is if you are obsessive about time and you manage your time properly and you're managing not only your time, but other people's energy flow, you can be very effective in those critical hours. And then you can use the other hours for other things that are, equally important to growth. And so like this afternoon is a great example, 3 o'clock. After our talk, 3:30, I'll be doing slides for the remainder of the day. Not a thing I would do in the morning. In the morning, it's checking in on clinical trials. It's working with our reimbursement specialists in Europe. It's seeing how things are going towards patient movement in Asia. But the big chunky things. But then in the afternoon, it's not the speed that's important. It's the creativity that I can tap into and wind my day down that way. And so, yeah, you're right. I do believe in that rhythm, that clock, that's so important. And as a leader, knowing your own energy and what to put in certain hours. And it doesn't always work out. And sometimes you get something that's, sometimes I have a late night call with the surgeon or something that didn't have the hours during the day. You just have to make that work, but you have to realize what energy you're bringing into that call. Probably not going to match the people.
I always find the most challenging for me is the time zones. So I have clients in Beijing, and I screw up calls so often that now they've learned to we talk on my time zone. They adjust because I seem to screw it up every single time. But You're exactly right. So you speak passionately about the compassion that you have for your patient populations, and particularly the elderly people who suffer from vision loss and how it's associated with depression. So can you share more of this with us?
Yeah, when I worked with a company called Alcon, I was a marketing director in Asia Pacific, and we were running a program, I believe it was in Kuala Lumpur, Malaysia. And we from the podium, there was a speaker talking on behalf of Orbis, which is a charitable group in eye health. He was talking about Hunter Cherwick, a doctor from New York. He was talking about non-preventable blindness in populations around the world. And that phraseology stuck in my mind on that day. And since that day, I've thought that, companies like us should be dedicating our work to making that phrase part of the history instead of part of the reality, where no one should suffer from a disease or blindness that's non-preventable. We should find ways to treat patients and make blindness always treatable. And that's what we do here. And then second part of, the inspiration for my passion for patient journey comes from my time at Janssen Pharmaceuticals. Dr. Paul Janssen, the founder of that company, which is now Johnson & Johnson's pharmaceutical branch, had a saying called "the patients are waiting." And there were white chairs, waiting room chairs, outside every elevator in a Janssen facility to remind you when the elevator door opened that the patients were waiting and that your work, no matter what you were doing, by delaying or dilly-dallying or not making deadlines, you were impacting a patient's ability to get treated. And, for us, it means, if it's a difference of a week or 2 weeks or 3 weeks, patients are elderly. They need our technology to see again. And those 1 or 2, 3 weeks might be someone's wedding, might be the birth of a grandchild, might be the last few weeks of their lives. So it's important that we focus hard and we try to get things to market quickly so that we have access to the patients in their peak years or the best years that they have left. We take that very serious. I take that very serious as a responsibility. I definitely trickle that down through my leadership team to everyone in the company.
Can you tell us more about the actual technology? I know there's a learning curve because you're asking doctors to do something that's going to be out of their comfort zone. And doctors are like every other human, moving out of their comfort zone is not always easily embraced. So tell us more about the technology itself and then how you're educating doctors and getting their buy-in.
Sure. It's a simple technology. In fact, I have a mock-up here. It's not this size. It's a telescope. This is just a dummy telescope, but it's a telescope lens that's in the middle of 3 black silicone haptics. And the lens magnifies light 2.7 times. In combination with the cornea, that's a 3 times magnification. And it projects the light parafoveally so that the patient with age-related macular degeneration that no longer has central vision can use the photoreceptors in the back of the eye that are still functioning to see the central image. So that magnification is very important in the procedure. If they get a normal, so like a cataract surgeon would put in an intraocular lens during cataract surgery, that intraocular lens is great for a normal person with healthy photoreceptors in the back of the eye. But if you don't have the macular tissue that's necessary for processing the image that's coming in, cataract surgery can make the peripheral vision clear, but not the central vision because the patient lacks the photoreceptors to be able to see centrally. So the SING IMT, or smaller incision new generation implantable miniature telescope, is a brand of intraocular telescope lens that can be put in during cataract surgery and allow the patient to see that central vision in the implant eye and use the non-implanted eye for peripheral vision. So what you're saying is very true. In the United States, cataract surgeons do cataract surgery and retina surgeons do not do cataract surgery. And so moving patients from retina, which is where our patients currently seek treatment for their macular degeneration, into the cataract surgeon's care is a challenging because of the patterns of care in the United States. Outside the US, in Europe, for example, retina surgeons do cataract surgery. So this is not as complicated. The retina surgeons have their patients in practice and they move them into surgery and do the case themselves. But in the United States, our company will bridge the gap and look for patients inside the retina community and move them to the cataract surgeon for care for implant of the device, and then back to the retina specialist for ongoing long-term care for the macular degeneration.
That's interesting. People talk about vision and they take it for granted. And it's really easy. We have vision and we think when you get much older, you can lose your vision and it really doesn't impact you. But when you say like that it really replaces that central vision, it is a big deal. And
it's a big deal.
It's a big deal. And I never would have really recognized, I mentioned before we logged on here that I have a cornea problem that just came out of the blue and it's not fixable. I have to wear special contact lenses for it. And it's something like I never thought that would happen. Like one day I can see and the next day I can't see. And I'm married to an ophthalmologist. And he's like, oh, sorry. But I mean, that's just what it is. And we take these things for granted until we don't take them for granted. So having a company like yours that's out there doing the work that is going to help families and help people see their grandchild's wedding or, their great-grandchild or their grandchild, especially with AMD. I mean, it's huge. It's very huge.
Yeah.
So
yeah. Most of our patients talk about being relegated to their homes. And that the saddest thing for me is that they're listening to television. They can't see the television. They can't read any longer. I was speaking with a patient, not one of our patients, but a patient of a late-stage AMD patient this weekend who fell down on her front porch just trying to leave. So the house becomes not a prison. I hate to say it that way, but to some extent, they're stuck in the homes. And this could be for 15 to 20 years. Right. And that's not something that people should experience. I mean, their loved ones try their best, but they have lives and they're doing things in their life and they don't come visit as much as they probably could. And, so our mission is to get them back into seeing their being with their families again, being in the game again and not stuck in their homes if they don't want to be. And for those in their homes, I mean, we there's one of my favorite patient stories is a gentleman in Greece who loves watching American movies, but could not watch them anymore because he couldn't track the subtitles. And if you think about subtitles on a movie set, a TV screen, watching a movie, it's usually white lettering over an ever-changing background. So that if you don't have great central vision, that is impossible. It's too fast. The background's changing. So now he can read those subtitles again. That's phenomenal. Like that, the processing speed is there. And we just published on our patients' reading speed, and it's 2 times the reading speed that they have prior to surgery and the 2 times the reading acuity prior to surgery. And it's about 3 to 4 lines on an eye chart like you see behind me. So they get a lot of vision and quantity, but the quality is there too with that speed of vision being in focus. And, we take pride into not into the vision itself, but in the activities that people can do again because we showed up and we were there. This weekend, we implanted our first patient in China. And he was like ecstatic about the things that he'd be able to go back to do. This is a guy who was far too young. I believe he was in his 60s. He was, the same kind of thing. He's limited appearances in family gatherings. And, now that's back and he's so excited. And, that kind of opportunity everywhere in the world now, 17 countries, is just so cool. I mean, it's a gift that we get to bring to people, but we get the same gift, if not a better gift in return.
That's actually amazing because you're expanding people's world. You work all your life and you raise your family and you do your things. And then to get to a certain point and be trapped in your home without being able to get out. And now you're expanding that. It's amazing. So I'm curious, what are some of the biggest challenges that you faced in commercializing these products?
Speed. I mean, again, it goes back to the traditional timelines where things take. I mean, it's important that you do clinical trials. It's important that you submit the proper argument for reimbursement and things like that. but they take a long time. Reimbursement in Europe is a good example. It's country by country. There's a lot of paperwork that goes to the submission proving your benefit, the benefit work versus the effort that the surgeon and the hospitals need to put in versus the cost. And so that takes years to establish the proper reimbursement to be able to start a business that's generating cash flow. And because of that, we can't reach the number of patients that I would like to reach and the speed that we would like to do it. And so I guess that's the most frustrating part for a person like me, is that we can't do things overnight, even though, these things seem logical to us that we should be able to do them. You still have to go through the process. And although we understand the process and we participate in it, it's still frustrating. And time is probably the most frustrating thing within our business.
So where is your product distributed right now? What countries?
Yeah, commercially available in Europe, in China, in special regulatory zones like Hainan Province and Hong Kong. The US, we're in the middle of a clinical trial called the Concerto trial, where people can go online and the concertotrial.com if they know a family member that might want to be part of a clinical trial with us. But we're about a third of the way through that Concerto trial, and we're recruiting patients around the US. Latin America, it's step by step, country by country. Got a good partner there, and Canada will require a clinical trial where somewhere in the neighborhood of 2026, 27 will be on market in Canada. So almost quite a bit of the world. In Australia, we're approved and on market pending reimbursement, which we can do surgical cases in Australia, and in parts of Asia that follow the European CE mark process. We're commercially available as well. But like I said, we've implanted in 17 countries. Around 100 surgeons have done at least one case. 60% of those have done multiple cases. So we're happy with that rhythm that we've got. We've got a loyal group of users, about 30 users that have put many patients through the process. And so, I think we're building a good, solid business.
And when you say there's clinical trials happening right now in the United States, if someone wanted to take part of that, is there a geographical region they have to live in? Are there certain areas that you're doing this and not others?
Yeah, I mean, we have 12 sites that are actively recruiting patients now. So it's likely that if you are a patient and you want to be part of a trial, it's likely we would be able to get you to a site. We do reimburse for reasonable travel and a reasonable distance from the sites, but you can go online to concertotrial.com and find out if you're within proper geography, and email me too. I'd be happy to answer your questions. If you want to be part of the trial, I'd be happy to try to get you in.
Awesome. And how large is your company right now?
We're about 50 people. It's still very small, early stage growth, but we'll do about $1 million in revenue this year. But, the most important part for us is getting established reimbursement, market to market, country to country. We have that in the US and in Germany. That's our start. And then from there, it's broadening out each step by step. But we've got a number of people, 18 people working in our facility in Israel, where we do manufacturing and R&D. And some regulatory affairs, quality assurance, and quality control. So that facility has been up and running for us for quite some time. Good capacity for years to come with manufacturing. And then in Europe, we've got a team of about 12 hungry and experienced people out there doing things like clinical applications, sales, and marketing to drive the business forward. In fact, today we had a case in Slovakia where the Minister of Health of Slovakia actually came to the OR and watched the case and put it. It's up on her Instagram right now too. So we got great media, great publicity. But my favorite part was the patient in screening. We use a companion diagnostic that looks like this, and it predicts whether the patient will be a good patient or not. And she was in the room with cameras, and the TV crew was filming her, and she was looking at them and could see them because remember, she's centrally blind. And when she was using the practice device, she could see the people's faces, and she just broke down and cried. And that was amazing. And that's part of our European team who works so hard. I think they cried more than she did at that moment. It's just good, passionate people. And here in the US, we're working with a partner called Aura, who's our clinical, our CRO, or clinical research organization. We've got a number of people that work for them that are dedicated to our program, as well as our small but nimble 4-person team that's working on the clinical trial here. I do get involved in that as well. More comfortable in scrubs than I am in a jacket. So I'm often in the OR with the patients and the surgeons too. So small team, nimble team, but one of my prerequisites for everybody is that their passion has to be about the patients and about the surgeons. And if it is, they're in the right place. This not a company where we're a small company. It's not a company where people should be focused on, individual careers or anything like that. That comes. But if you're dedicated to the patient then and dedicated to the surgeon, then all of it comes along with that if we're successful.
How does AI play into your company and your products and how things are done?
Yeah, I think in the industry, it plays in long-term, quite a bit. Definitely we see tools like goggles. I saw goggles a few weeks ago and tried them on where the patient wears the headset and looks at things and the headset talks to them and tells them what they're looking at. So if I'm looking at you and you're talking to me, it says Cynthia is talking. She is saying this, that, and the other, or she's moving her hands. She's holding up two fingers. So that technology, I think, is there for the patients. In our business, it's more on the patient recruitment side, where we're able to do data mining along with the healthcare practitioners with permission and proper compliance. We're able to mine the data that they have to find patients who might be candidates for our technology and get out to them and and let them know what's available, which helps us go quicker. So more in the patient recruitment side, I see AI being a big part of our future. On the surgical side, I do see AI being great, a diagnostic tool built into everything that surgeons use to do diagnosis. In fact, OCT is the current diagnosis, bellwether product. It's a tissue depth analyzer for retina. And OCT analysis is variable and subjective. And I see AI playing a big role in that as well. So in our industry, I think there's a lot of opportunities for AI. I don't necessarily know if our company will be the primary beneficiary, but certainly in patient recruitment, for sure, we'll see benefit.
And if you were to give advice to someone who wanted to, just aspiring leaders who just want to make a significant impact in their industry, they have an idea for a product, kind of like you did, what advice would you give them so that they can start today and build their legacy?
I ask a ton of questions. Don't waste time in an office. Get out in the operating room, wherever your product. If you have an idea for a product, get out to where the front lines, where it's going to be used. I'm helping a gentleman who's got an endoscope, a digital endoscope that was for bariatric care. And we've looked at a business case in ophthalmology, and we spent a day in the operating room with a surgeon, and we discussed where could this be useful, and spent a second day and sort of did more discussions with him. We designed a business case, a use case in surgery for this tool that could be really the game changer for glaucoma surgery. And, that kind of ideation is not possible from a boardroom. If you're spending too much time in the boardroom, then you're not spending enough time where care happens. So, I guess my recommendation from one of my mentors who said, get out with the doctors, that even when you change companies, the surgeons and the customers are still going to be the same people. And Tom Frenzy was a great mentor of mine. He's a sort of a legend in our space. And, that recommendation or that advice, was so important because it says to me, like, if I've been in the office for a month and I haven't been out in the field in the operating room, I'm really doing my patients a disservice. I'm doing my team a disservice because this is not where the business happens. It happens in the operating.
Absolutely. So your links, the links to your website and the links to your clinical trials and everything will be under the show notes here. But is there anywhere that you prefer that people reach out to you on LinkedIn or just email or just through your website?
Yeah, LinkedIn is always, I love LinkedIn. I think, it's gotten a little more spammy over the last 5 years, but it's what a great tool to connect people, even when they leave jobs and go to new places. It's always there. So, follow me on LinkedIn, message me on LinkedIn. If your message starts with, I have 5 sales prospects for you, please, I won't read that. But if it says, I heard you on the podcast, I'd be happy to answer that and then get in touch.
I always laugh at the ones that I'll get that they'll say, we'll get you like 30 new appointments on your calendar in the next 60 days. And if I happen to glance at their profile, like 60 days ago, they were working for Enterprise Rental Car. What makes them an expert and why did they think I need 30 to 60? It cracks me up.
Yeah. Well, it's a numbers game for them. We get it.
It is. It is.
We've all been young salespeople too, so I understand.
Yeah, I agree. And it does come across spammy sometimes, but you got to give people credit for getting out there and going for it and trying it. So I want to thank you so much for sharing your insights and experiences with us today. It's really been inspiring to hear about your journey and the impact you're having at Samsara Vision. I love your dedication. I'm going to actually tell my husband about you and see if he has any patients that might be, I think his patient base is like 30,000 people. So if he has people that might be good candidates for your clinical trials, I'm definitely going to, tell him about this.
Yeah, please send them along. That'd be wonderful.
I'm so thrilled to get to speak to you about this. And for our listeners, remember that making a significant impact starts with combining discipline, compassion, and experience. So just keep going for what you want and believing in your dreams. And thank you for tuning in today to the Care to Lead podcast. If you found value here today, please subscribe to our YouTube channel, or you can find us on your favorite podcast platform as well. And until next time, remember, leaders who care to lead. Have a wonderful day.